I've got a lot of questions about Mikel Arteta, and today I'm joined by Rob, an absolutely massive Arsenal fan, who seems to be his number one fan. The only team with a higher net spend than Arsenal in the last 5 seasons combined is Manchester United, right? And I want to start in that place, around Manchester United. Because with the amount of money that they've spent, there's only 10 million euros in between the two figures. Arsenal 772 million and Manchester United is 782. So would you say that Manchester United have had a successful last 5 seasons?
You've come with stats. You come prepared. No. Simple.
So would you say that Mikel Arteta has had a successful last 5 seasons?
I think he's had a very successful time rebuilding the team. But it depends how you define success. If you define success as taking a team and making it better season on season, apart from last season, it's succeeded completely. We've got better every single year apart from last year. So the job of the manager ultimately is to make the team better. And that's what he's done. So if you judge it on that, yes. If you judge it on has he won the Champions League or the Premier League, then obviously no.
I agree that he's made the team better. Obviously some higher finishes in the Premier League. I'm maybe a little bit old school in the way that I view football sometimes because I just think about trophies.
Yeah.
I think about the honours on the board because no matter what, Arsenal have had a relatively decent period in terms of the Premier League.
Yeah.
But I think in another 15 years when you look back at this, you'll go, yeah, it was all right, but we didn't do anything. And I thought, all right then, let's compare that to Manchester United in the same time period. So in that time period, they've reached 2 Europa League finals.
Yeah.
Have
lost
won,
both.
I know, but still made it to a final. This comes into it, don't worry. 2 Europa League finals, an FA Cup final, which they lost, but they've also won an FA and a League Cup in that time period. And admittedly, they have failed in the Premier League massively. For one of the biggest clubs in the world, it's unacceptable. But at the same time, Arsenal won an FA Cup in the 1920 season, which was longer than that now, and nothing since.
Yeah.
So we look at the comparisons, and yes, we expect a lot more from both teams, really, given how much they have spent. But to me, Manchester United will look back at those trophy wins as much better moments in the club's history, despite it being in a difficult period, than Arsenal will look back at finishing second a couple of times. Do you not agree?
To an extent. So I think the problem is we use the Man United example. So yes, they've won a few trophies, but ultimately would I swap what they have now for our last few years? Absolutely no chance, because we have put ourselves in a position where we are right there. We're very, very close. Now, the issue is, of course, we haven't got over that line yet, and we need to get over that line. And that's where the pressure is really, really on this season. You need to get over a line. It doesn't matter if it's the Champions League, the Premier League. You need to get over a serious line. And that's the position that Arteta has put us in. But think about the levels he's raised. I remember maybe, 3-4 years ago when we lost to Spurs, I think it was 3-0. Then we lost to Newcastle and we, for all intents, we bottled the top 4. And we did bottle the top 4. All we wanted back then was the top 4 to be back in the Champions League. And now we're complaining because we haven't won the Champions League. I mean, what a change that is from finishing 8th and dreaming of being back in the Champions League to now we're being criticised for not winning it. What a position you have to be in to say you have to win the Champions League or you failed.
Would you not think that any manager who has spent the most in the biggest football league in the world over a 5-year period should be expected to win those trophies?
But I think we've had to spend the most. That's the point. I think you look at the players that we've bought and you look at, yes, there have been a few failures here and there, but generally, the team now, there was some stats came out earlier and I haven't got the exact numbers and I can't remember the source. This is going to sound like I'm making it up. But the stat that came out was that Arsenal now have the most valuable squad in the Premier League. Simple as that. So we've put ourselves in a position now that Arsenal are a very bad selling club so far. I think our record fee is 35 million for Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's terrible. But you look at the players that we had back then to sell. Do you think we're getting big money for Mustafi or Socrates or 38-year-old Petr Cech, however old he was? We're getting nothing for those. Whereas now, you look at some of the players that we have, and if they leave, when they leave, Saliba's going to go for an enormous fee. Gabriel just signed a new contract. He'd go for an enormous fee. We've got Declan Rice, Ødegaard, whether you think he's had a good season or not, these are expensive commodities, and they're going to ultimately, when they leave, they're going to go for big fees. We're getting into that phase now.
See, I agree with pretty much everything you've just said. Obviously, the value of the players, etc., has gone up. But let's be honest, we're football fans. We don't get into football because we want our centre back to be worth more when we sell them. We don't get into football because we want a few academy products to be worth a lot of money and for it to say on transfer market that we're the most valuable club. We get into it for moments and for the emotion of getting to a final, of winning a cup. And I just don't think that Arteta is the man that can do that. And I think it has been proved year in, year out that he cannot get you over the line. And another aspect in this for me, because we can talk about, all right, who else is there available? Who else are we going to bring in as a new manager? Look at Arne Slot.
Yeah.
He had done a good job in Holland, but no one expected him to come in and do what he did with that Liverpool team. Let's be honest. When Klopp was leaving, we all said, it's going to be a transition period. They're going to have a couple years. They're going to have to build back up. He's come in and completely revolutionised the way that they play and instantly won a Premier League and had them challenging in all competitions. So it's not up to me to find that ideal manager for Arsenal. That's up to them.
Yeah.
But do you not think that maybe now we're getting to a point where you have to start thinking, all right, maybe we've got to bring in someone else, even if you're risking it to a certain extent, because I would say Liverpool were risking it with Slot. He wasn't a big proven manager that had worked in the Premier League before, but they risked it and it worked.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal have to do the same.
I think the Slot comparison's a good one because ultimately look at what Slot inherited, look at the team that he had. And I think people forget this. Liverpool were top. Jurgen Klopp's last season, they were top for a long time. They were title challenging. Just because they fell off at the end, people kind of forget. That's a title challenging team. He didn't walk into the Liverpool team that Klopp walked into. He didn't walk into the Arsenal team that Arteta walked into. He walked into a team with arguably the Ballon d'Or player in Salah. And then he's got Diaz, he's got Jota, he's got Virgil van Dijk, probably one of the best centre-backs ever. He's got Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers ever. These are really, really top players.
Let's keep in mind, the team that Arteta walked into was, 6 years ago now?
Yeah.
We can't keep referencing, we're talking like in the last 3 years, there's been nothing. There's been a fluke Community Shield.
Who had a better squad last season, Liverpool or Arsenal?
I think it's actually quite up for debate. If you
I do.
Take it all in all, I'd say you could compare a lot of the players. Gabriel and Saliba would have a pretty good chance of getting into that Liverpool team.
Yeah.
I mean, Raya and Alisson are they're the two best goalkeepers in the league. So it's quite hard to compare those. From a midfield perspective, again, it's quite close. You've got Szoboszlai, who's fantastic. You've got Rice, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
The overall squad is, I'd say, pretty neck and neck.
Agreed.
But Liverpool had a much better season.
Agreed.
So I don't get the argument then. How are you saying, yeah, but the manager's doing a fantastic job still?
But the manager is doing a good job, but we were up against another manager who did an even better job. I think you can't...
But you've been saying that for the last 3 seasons now, so is it not time to try a different manager?
Because we've been up against Pep Guardiola for 2 of those, the greatest manager probably of all time. It's up for debate, but he's probably there,
he's up there
with one of the best teams of all time. This is a Man City team that have been completely dominant. You know, yes, Jurgen Klopp won trophies at Liverpool, and so right now, you look at it, you say Jurgen Klopp is a significantly better manager than Arteta. I wouldn't deny that for a second. But the reaction to just go, well, you haven't won, so you've got to go. That could happen. And I think at the end of this season, I'll be thinking very, very intently about it, because ultimately, if he doesn't get over the line this season, there's got to be a very good reason for it. And now my point when people say, has he got to win or has he got to go, is that it's all context. Everything is about context. So to me, should Liverpool go on a 105-point pace and Arsenal get 98 and finish second, and then if we get to a Champions League final and we lose 1-0 to Lamine Yamal running through 5 players and putting it in the 100th minute, if that happens and then we don't win either of the big honours and then we finish trophyless again, can I seriously say this is a manager who's terrible, get him out, we can't do this anymore? No. But if it's things like we saw at Anfield where the tactics weren't quite right, Slot maybe outdid him a little bit, and if we see that too often, then I'll start thinking it. But so far, they sound like excuses, and ultimately they are excuses.
But what gives you confidence that you're even going to get to that final hurdle, especially in a cup competition? Arsenal have lost 8 semi-finals since the 2021 season.
It's a big problem.
So what gives you the idea that Arteta can even get you to the final in the first place? And you was referencing other managers there that you said a few of are better, or at least better at the minute. All right, so is Ange Postecoglou better? Because he won a trophy that Arteta has failed to win twice, not against those other world-class managers. So I know that they were horrible in the league last season, but they clearly put all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So I don't like that argument, because then by that logic, you could say, well, Ange Postecoglou won the Europa League, whereas Arteta failed to win the Europa League twice.
I like the Ange Postecoglou thing, because you look at the teams that he played, you look at that Europa League. So for a start, it's a totally different competition. You've got no Champions League teams dropping down anymore. So Tottenham played, Bodo Glimt, I think, in the semi-final, and then they had Man United, maybe the worst Man United team ever in the final. So yes, they won it, and all fair play to them. Like, they got through, they did that, and that's great. But the teams that Arteta played, he played Sporting, and we lost to them. And then the other one was Villarreal, I think. Unai Emery's Villarreal. Now, should we be getting over those lines? Yes. But I think you've got to take into context where the team was at that point, where the team is now. You know, we're not talking about trying to win a Europa League anymore because we've gone so far past that. And that's where we've got to. And yes, I'm not going to sit here and say that Arteta, you know, he's all right to lose all these semi-finals, because he shouldn't be. He really shouldn't be. But it's where we are at the moment. And I do think you look at the sample size, how good we've been in the Big Six games, how close we've got on so many occasions to the league, and we're just there. It's that extra 5%. And a new manager may be able to give us that, but I'm not willing to throw him out just yet until I see conclusive proof that it is him that's the problem.
Well, I think, in my opinion anyway, I've seen more than enough conclusive proof. Arsenal reached more cup finals and won more in the 5 seasons before Arteta came in, which is crazy to me. Given the amount of money he's spent, given the players at his disposal, I agree with you, and I think that maybe this is where the majority of Arsenal fans are at. This is his last chance. I personally, at this point, if another manager became available that the club liked the look of, would say go for it right now.
I think this is the first season that I can wholeheartedly say Arteta has got all the tools that he needs. There is no holes in this squad anymore. So he cannot blame a transfer window. He cannot blame, I don't have a striker, I don't have this, I don't have that. That excuse is gone. So now the pressure really is on him, because last season, I'm one of these people that's going to say, look at our injuries. And it's such a tired excuse. And I know people say everyone's got injuries. I get that. But the amount of injuries we had last year was ridiculous. We lost Saka for a large part. We lost Havertz for a large part. We were playing, you know, we had a front three of Nwaneri, Marino and Trossard for a while. And then we even lost Trossard for a bit. So we were playing Kieran Tierney on left wing. Yeah. Like, how are you going to expect, if Liverpool were to lose Salah and Van Dijk and Gravenberch and Alisson all at the same time, you wouldn't expect them to go on a title charge. So it is an excuse, whether people like it or not. That amount of injuries is an excuse. Why we got that amount of injuries is a different question. Is there something being done in training? Is he not managing the squad properly? These are other questions that we can talk about another day. But last season, as I say, is the first year that we've actually regressed. Every other year, we're getting better and better and better and better. We took, you know, the great Man City side, one of probably the best teams the Premier League has ever seen. We took them all the way to the final day. We were realistically one Leandro Trossard goal away from winning the league that year. That Villa game, and I will die on this hill, if Trossard scores that goal, we win that game. 100%.
I can hear all the excuses in the world, Rob. But I think we've covered it pretty well there. I'm actually intrigued to see. Let us know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think it's time for Arteta to go? Do you think he's done enough to earn it at least till the end of this season? And if he doesn't win anything this season, is it game over?
I'll be back.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.